Good evening everyone, and welcome to the Scrutineer, the penultimate show of the series. We are on round 17. Can you believe it? Round 17 of 18. The championships are still on the line. Everything is happening here at GPVWC's WTF1's Superleague here at GPVWC.com. We've been talking about it all year long. You're probably sick of me. If you've watched the broadcast of Former Challenger tonight, you'll be sick of me as well because I ended up on that one. So apologies, but thank you everyone for joining me, even at this late hour. And a day late, but it's still before the race, so we're fine. Everything still stands as it was. Nice to see you all joining in. Hello to David Carter. Nice to make it back to watch the show. I hear that's nice to see. So if you didn't watch the Former Challenge race, you can watch that again on this channel. You can also watch back all the series on all of the Former Challenge Super Cup or Super League and all these Scrutineer shows as well if you've missed them here or on simnews.tv's YouTube channel as well. This is brought to you by simnews.tv, as all the ladder broadcasts are as well. We've got everything to go through as per normal. There's still upgrading going on, there's still tyre choices, engine choices, all the things you come to expect from a WTF1 Super League campaign. All that sort of stuff is paramount, and it's what makes this league absolutely incredible compared to anything else. You can go anywhere and race single-seaters, cars against each other, and competitively against some very good drivers. But you can't get the team aspect that GPVWC provides. It's as close to Formula 1 as an esport as you can get. It's even closer than the actual Formula 1 esports. That's not sim racing. But nonetheless, it gets a lot of hype, and great to see that there's people watching and doing that sort of thing. But this is where it's at, and people will find that out over the coming years. The guys that are here, the guys that are racing here, are the best drivers there are around. It's on the greatest sim, it's the most realistic thing. You know, Rudy Van Buren won this last year, and he's still at McLaren doing bits and pieces over there as well. I mean, he's hectic flying about the place. He was over in Kota. I mean, what other leagues can say they've got such close ties to Formula 1? Michael Ayres, how dare you be late? Hello. You of all people should know you've got to be on time, but let's not start the jokes on you too much too soon. Why am I so small tonight? Oh dear, that's a bit of a worry. I don't know. Should I be higher, taller? I don't know. I have to get a cushion. Maybe. Anyway, no matter. So we've got so much going on tonight. We can talk to you through all the teams and all the upgrades they bought, and then absolutely everything else that's going on. So we start it off as per normal, I suppose, with the car upgrades. Makes sense, doesn't it? So all the teams can bring upgrades to any event they can. They just have to build them in first. So we'll go championship order. So ACR are leading the way, and they have brought an upgrade here. They have brought an upgrade to the rear wing downforce. They've maxed out that. So that's 3 areas they've now maxed out. You can see a theoretical time gain of nearly 300ths of a second there. Then they've still done the body drag as well. We'll start seeing as we go through what this means more. If you haven't watched the shows before, watch back some others. With the camera down, you just want to see the sexy body. Let's give it a go. Better? Yeah, alright, we'll stick with that. So let's get rid of ACR and go with Edge, because these are the two title contenders. Edge haven't brought anything to this round. That probably means they're bringing us up to the next one. They have pretty much maxed out 3 areas as well, though. So the front wing downforce, that's 92, so that's basically as close. You know, they probably won't waste it going to 100 on that one, and they basically maxed out the other 2 areas. So pretty similar. Just one's on the rear wing, one's on the front wing. That's our 2 title contenders basically. Evolution. Third in the standings. They've also done rear wing downforce, maxed out the 2 areas before that as well, weight and diffuser, which we will find most teams have done because it was the most important upgrades to do, as it turned out. Ask anyone at Street Fighter. Epic, they haven't brought anything here, and I'm starting to think they now just stopped developing, which would be a fair choice. The way they are in the standings, they're not going to get caught, as we'll get onto as well, driver lineups and things like that changing around. So I'd imagine that's their car now to the end of the season. Still pretty decent car, you know, it was top car partway through the season, so it's got maxed out on the weight and diffuser, and still got some good upgrades on the front wing and the body drag as well. Hawkeye, they have already maxed out 3 areas, which was the diffuser, the weight and the front wing downforce. They haven't gained anything here because they've not brought anything to this event. It makes sense because a lot of teams will be bringing stuff to the final round next time out. Nordson basically maxed out weight and diffuser previously. They have brought an upgrade here to the front wing downforce. pretty much maxes theirs out at 94. They're not going to do any more to the, well, in fact, I don't think they can now because they put that upgrade here. They probably have one more for the next round somewhere else on the car, maybe rear wing. You might finish that one off. Red Archer, they've again maxed out the 2 key areas, and they brought an upgrade for the first time to the rear wing downforce. They haven't done that before, which is why it's only 12%. They have got good body drag and front wing downforce as well, though. That's a pretty decent car, really. Eval. Evo had maxed out the diffuser and pretty much maxed out the weight at 90. Not brought anything to this event though. And again, probably the type of team that may not bring anything to the last event. I think they're now, that being a new team, like Epic were, in fact they both still are, then it's probably worth saving a bit of money maybe, that sort of thing, if you're not going to gain too much maybe. Flag to flag, we already know they've given up on development. They've told us as much. 2 rounds ago now, I think was the last time. So weight and diffuser had maxed out anyway, and they've done a little bit on front and rear wing, but that's their car to end of the year. Again, new team, makes sense. Adonis maxed out the weight and diffuser area, brought an upgrade to the front wing downforce, so they've near enough maxed it out, 93%, sorry. Body drag and rear wing downforce done previously as well, so there's a time gain there of well, nearly 5 temps. Not too bad. 500 even. Temps would be impressive. Weight and diffuser for Storm, but nothing added this time out compared to last time's car. Again, it's up there with everyone else sort of evenly. Zurich haven't brought anything here either. Weight and diffuser though maxed out near enough, as they have done for many around now. Front wing's pretty solid in this car as well, and they have done a little bit on body drag and rear wing. Mad Cape, again, probably stopped now, but they've got weight and diffuser at a good at top levels, and they've done some good front wing and one upgrade on the rear wing. One team that is still developing, I've noticed, is Street Fighter. They've eventually listened to us and are developing weight and diffuser, so again, they've done that this time, so they've upgraded 19 on weight and 14 on diffuser. That gives them 79 and 62. They'd already maxed out the front wing downforce. Having spoken to a member of their team, they sort of went, we've criticised them quite a bit on the show, which is, I think still justified, but some people probably thought we went too far. But the results kind of show we were right. The weight and diffuser areas, though, are areas that their staff, so they're key. You get a designer at the start of the year. You have to bid and pay a designer, and they have a certain rating. If you don't remember this, go back to Sim News on YouTube, and you can go back and watch. I think episode 1, maybe 2, we went into that actually. Episode 1 for bidding. It will come around again in January. Those sort of, and their staff member was not particularly good in these 2 areas, but very good on, say, aero for the wings. So that's why they went in that direction, because you get more gain for less money and time. So it made sense in that respect, but when you've got 2 areas that turned out to be key areas, that decision should have been made sooner. But at least now is being made, so gains being made there by Street Fighter, so well done to them. There's something you don't hear from me very often. That's cars. That was quite quick for cars, wasn't it? But that's because we're getting near the end of the year, so some teams have stopped developing. And then you've also got, some teams have stopped developing, new teams in the main, but also teams that feel they're quite safe, maybe, in the position they're in. And then you've also got the teams still battling for the challenge tools and stuff, and most teams, even if they're still developing, will try and have developed for last round, which is the next one up, rather than this one. See, Mark and Michael, you know what's going on. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, don't miss our live broadcast. Thank you, everybody knows what's happening. Great stuff. I must say it enough, That means it's working, guys. Good work. Engines! So we've got 4 power units, if you don't remember them from last time. We've got Martex, Quasar, Talos and Valiant. Last time we saw Valiant bring an upgrade to mapping, which is their boost. This time out we've seen Martex and Quasar do the same. So Martex have moved their boost, both of them in fact have added 6, so they've got to 23 and 36 respectively. There's not a huge difference now between the engines. The only one that's sort of different now is Talos. So from a power perspective, particularly around qualifying, when you get to that, you'll notice that Talos are probably a tenth or 2 down on everybody else, purely just from the engine, let alone what we've spoken about with the cars, as we'll come on to. But yes, in the meantime, the Martex and Quasar catching up to the Valiant. Interestingly, having brought an upgrade here probably means they haven't got anything for the last event. I'd expect Talos definitely to bring something to the last event, because they haven't brought anything for a couple now. points are tight. That's why this isn't engine manufacturers being, scrimping the barrel, as it were, but they really are on R&D points, not money. So the engine R&D points, which is separate to the car R&D, it has they don't carry over either into next year, unlike the car R&D, which does, the chassis ones. So there's no point in holding on to it, so you may as well use it. So quite a lot use it in the last race, but in this circumstance, Martins and Quasar have decided to use theirs for this event. Quasar particularly, that makes sense, because obviously their one team is still in the title battle, so they need to catch up to Valiant, which is the other one. That's all very well if the engines are equal, but we already know they aren't. They have to make 6 last all season, or buy 2 more for penalties and prices, £1 million a time. So this time out, we've got ACR engines. This is also where we'll go through a few driver changes and bits as well. So team is still in the... So Alex trying to get the driver's title, and the team trying to get the team's title. Both currently leading those championships. But here they've both... Risto Capit got a 70% engine, which is the Unit 7, which is the unit he used last time out and got back in the grid, because that's a unit above and beyond what you're allowed normally. He had to pay £1 million and back of the grid penalty. Alex Siebel still has a few units after his disconnects at the start of the year, so he has a 67% unit engine, so they're pretty much similar, but Siebel hasn't had to take it back of the grid this season. Edge, again, same lineup, still battling for championship. Petter Burlat looking for the driver's title, the team looking for the team's title. You got Petter with a 70% unit, unit 6. He's jumped back to that one. In fact, I think if I... Yep, sorry, there we go, look at that, that's a bit better. So he has got a unit, what was unit 7. You can see it there at the bottom with 67%. So he's got that, which you'd assume he would use in the final round. Which is fine, that's what I'm going to do. Jarl, controversially with the back of the grid last time out or not, but Jarl Tyen took a new unit this time out, having appealed his penalty the previous round, so we expected him to take a penalty for the rejoins and things, and that sort of stuff. Then that penalty is likely, I haven't heard the outcome yet, is likely to have carried forward to this event. If it has, then that's, I think it was 20 places, in which case it made sense to take the fresh engine, because you were going to take 20 place grid penalty anyway. Does mean he starts pretty much dead last though, because it means he's got a back of grid for taking the fresh engine, costs £1 million, and a 20 place grid penalty. That means he's going to have to start dead last, which has connotations for one of the championships at least, potentially. But we have seen teams battle back from the back in quite a few races, to be fair. So I'm sure Jarl will relish having a fresh engine with very little risk of it blowing up like his previous engine last week. Evolution, we're still running on unit 5s here, so we've got 39 and 40% unit engines. Obviously trying to do the season without having to buy new engines. There's very little need for them to do that anyway. You know, they're third, they're pretty set in third unless Epic really get their act together. Sorry, yeah, let's have a little more whiskey. And then, yeah, so you look there, and Box still got a 70% engine. Dennis Jordan still got a 38 as well, so probably try and see out Abu Dhabi with that one. Epic, now, here's a driver for you. Luca Di Emilio, I believe it said, sitting in Boyer's car. So, yeah, Boyer Milan apparently stopped racing here now, at least for this season. So they've drafted in Fournier's teammate from Formula Simracing, Ace level, I believe that's at. Yeah, Ace, yes. So, you know, and that's reasonable over there. So we'll see what he can do. It's his debut here at GPVWC. That's quite exciting. It's a shame he's got quite a low engine. Might have to sort that out, but manage it a little bit. But Fournier's got a decent engine unit, 70% unit 5. Again, we already know they're trying to save sort of a bit of money for next year, so they'll probably try and see the season out, and they should just about be able to do that with the engines they've got. They're in no risk of being challenged by Hawkeye. Hawkeye with their lineup of Leon DeWalt and Ricardo Costa, 61% engine unit 4 and 48 Unit 5 for Costa. Again, we'll try and see a season without. Jordan got a 7th. Have I missed that? Oh yeah, there it is. Look at that, hiding away that unit. Look at that. So he's got 69% unit as well, kicking around. So that's what I'm going to use next time out. I was getting a little worried for you there, Dennis, doing Abu Dhabi with 38. So thank you very much. So that's all right. That was Coke, David. Well, I didn't know you had a camera in there. No, this is whiskey and Coke. That white powder over there is nothing. Where were we? Nordson. Fighting Cooper. In fact, I need to start moving these around a bit, don't I? To give them a chance to show that Unit 7's in use. But anyways, so they both picked fresh units. Unit 7's, back of the grids for both of them. Okay, why not at this stage, I suppose. They've got, otherwise it's quite poor engines when you look at them. So rather than risk it, they've decided, I mean, they're quite a rich team anyway, Nordson, so not a big problem in that respect. It's just the back of the grid that probably will hurt them. But let's be blunt, Nordson's qualifying this year has been atrocious, so actually they start quite near the back generally, in the bottom half, so you know, it's not unfair to say they qualify around 14th-ish, something like that. 12 to 14 is sort of what I'd expect, maybe. Might be a bit of disservice to David Fiduk, but you know, if they end up at the back, it's no hardship for, no difference really, and they get a fresh engine for Cooper at least. Red Archer. I'm completely guessing with the lineup. I'm heard Choda's back in again. I hope Williams is back in, because you know, if he's done very well just watching the Formula Challenge as well. So you know, good driver. It's nice, and now because we're near the end, they can do these things on reserve contract. As long as they've got a couple of primaries signed as well. So yeah, 37-36% units. They're getting to the end of the year as they are, so why not? I like the fact they're trying new people out. The car's decent, so that's nice. Eval. I've made the mistake there as well, not showing Eval's engine, because he has got another one. Right, Kilk, using a 39% engine, so he's basically there saving his 69 one for the final round, and Argo using a 54. Again, saving his 60 for the final round by the looks of it. Flag to Flag, who no longer care. You've got Michael Ayres still in that car. Unit 5, 77%, and yeah, he's got an engine enough probably to get him through. Well, let's be honest, he doesn't get to the end of the race, so an engine to get him through half a race. And then Mark Hutchinson has done almost what you'd call the perfect run for engines, in that he hasn't used any extras. He's now using, so he's now using Unit 6, which is 69% engine, and that should wear down enough to be able to use it one more time for the final round. So that's a car that's pretty much completed all the races, or at least competed in all the races, and yeah, hasn't needed to buy a new engine. So very well done there to Mark if he can keep that going. Saves his team an awful lot. Who did I say don't care? Flag to Flag? Is that Flag to Flag I said didn't care? Maybe it was. But they've stopped developing is what I mean, like as in that sort of way. Adonis, Jonathan Holmes, 94% engine. I'll be interested to see how he does now. He's sort of got a race or two under his belt. You know, I know it's a very different environment to come back to, but there we go. And then Yuri Kazdorp, always doing quite well. He's got 69% engine. Interesting to see what, well, probably keep the same engine, Unit 6 for the final race as well. Depends what it wears down to, but should be fine for the season as well. Storm. Storm, again, guessing that it's Bart DeVos and Kosmala in this team. You kind of never know really up until the end, but that's what we're guessing at the moment. Whoever's in the cars, got Unit 6 and Unit 4, both of which are at 68%. Again, they've got enough engines to see them through to the end of the season without spending and breaking the bank. It's all very close in this mid-pack though, from the standings perspective. So, you know, it's worth having a go. And some of these engines do make a big difference. Mizurik, here's one for you. Dino Paolini, we know he's in that car. He's been in the car all year. 37% engine. Now we're hearing that Jim Parisis is going to sit in the other car with a 66% engine, and he's still got 100% engine left for the last race as well, if he does take that one on. You know, Jim Parisis, not particularly. You know, he has driven here. Drove here for Torrent. Hasn't driven here and Target. Did you drive that way around? Yeah, Torrent and then Target, I think. Might have just done Torrent. Either way, he's been racing over at Formula Simracing as well. Very quality, high quality driver. Another one of these people, a bit like Madcape, brought in some quality drivers. You know, this is a guy that wins races over there in Equal Machinery. So it'd be interesting to see. That Missouri isn't a bad car. I've been saying it all year, but we'll see what can be done with somebody finally in this car. But then again, it's his first race, so we've already seen that it can take some drivers a little bit of adapting. It's a very different beast. Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. I'm quite excited to see that one, see if Missouri can get there, and as I'll come on to, the reasoning why as well. It's interesting. Missouri is one of those teams you want to be watching the last two races. Madcape. Again, I'm guessing the lineup slightly in that you know, they've got Jerome, Tobias, and Dan Brewer, all of which sort of interchange a little bit. So last time we did see Kuroko and Brewer, which I think is probably their strongest lineup. But Olsen has, you know, been dragging forwards with those guys as well. Anyway, Kuroko's got if Queekle races, he's got a 70% engine in Unit 6, and Olsen's car has a 69% engine as well. Again, they won't need to buy fresh units. They've got, well, yeah, Olsen's one should get there, so they've got enough to get to the end of the season without having to spend any extra. So that'd be quite cool. You know, this team has moved on leaps and bounds since they've changed sort of lineups in the last few rounds. So much so that we were talking about them being the green stripes of this year and being miles off the pack, and now actually they're catching up other teams. So, you know, 2 races to go. It could actually be a reasonably respectable season for Madcape yet. Who knows? One team that will be wanting the season to finish quickly though is Red Bull Street Fighter. You've got Franchik and Gaia in there. Both fresh units, 100% engine units. Not back of the grid penalties because they're Unit 6s, not Unit 7s. So they haven't even used enough engines yet. They've still got fresh engines themselves to use here, mainly due to retirement rates and things like that. So that'd be quite good for them. That could be a very powerful engine, and that car is improving all the time, as we'll come on to. So again, and you know, it is a talented lineup. It should be higher up than it is. That being said, the teams above are also improving their lineups, arguably more so than Street Fighter has. So, you know, people are catching up on all aspects now. It's not as easy anymore to be at the top of this GPV as it used to be. You used to be able to bring in a ringer for the last couple of rounds and really move up the standings. Doesn't work like that anymore. So that's engines. So even with those percentages, you're probably not talking huge amounts. You know, half a tenth here or there, depending, and on the type of engine as well. But these, as we'll come on to with the cars, where they're very, very even, these engine bits can make such a difference, particularly the ones that are quite low. If you're under 40% now, some of those guys will start thinking, oh, they're a bit iffy, because, you know, we have seen some engines fail this year. It's not all about the percentage, it's very much how you drive it as well. But you have to play that into a factor, and that can slow you down slightly. So, yeah. Let's have a look at the dev chart. So this is total upgrade. Oh no, well, yeah, all right, we'll do it this way. This is total upgrades on the cars, points wise. So this isn't time as such. This is just literally how much they've developed the car. So this is percentage on different areas. There's like 9 different areas. So in theory, it's out of about 900 or something. You know, when you look at that and go, Edge has used 369 points. It's very close all the way down, but it's where you use those points as well. You look at flag to flag though, you know, using a third less than Edge, so the car's going to be a bit worse, isn't it? Of course it is. That makes sense. Just gives you an idea though of who's spending money in R&D points. Basically, it doesn't mean anything other than that. It just gives you a bit of a gauge. Yes. We'll go on to tyres because I missed that one out, so apologies. There is tyre choices as well. So we've done engine choices, tyre choices. We've got 3 different options this time out. The majority of the grid taking the 3 softest units. So that's the ultra soft, super soft, and soft tyres. In fact, that's pretty much all your big players as well. So you go with ACR, Edge, Evolution, Epic, Hawkeye, Nordson, Red Archer, Adonis, Flag to Flag, Storm, Zurich, and Street Fighter all have taken that option. There's 2 teams that have taken slightly different options. Eval taking the ultra soft, soft, and mediums, which is, you know, it just shows they're going to probably go longer on those tyres and do that sort of route. And then Madcape have gone ultra soft, mediums, and hards. That is. Now that one, they did that last time. I'm not sure whether that is them not choosing tyres at all, which would make sense because the engines, I think, carried over as well. So maybe they didn't, but at the same time, maybe that's their choice. That might be something that's worked for them. It has worked for them in the past, going longer on these tyres. So yeah, we'll see. I quite like the fact someone's trying something different. If you're down the bottom of the grid, I suppose you might as well try something different. I'll slate you afterwards if it doesn't work, but you know, if they can keep scoring points with it, then that's fine. You go ahead. It's when it doesn't work that, yeah, you have to ask yourself some questions. Otherwise, you go the free softest options and go the safe route. A bit boring, isn't it? But most teams did. So let's go back to car development. So you saw that graphic before. It showed you all the upgrades in points. So what does that mean time-wise? Now, few caveats with this, as always. If you haven't watched the show before, this is purely the chassis. So ignore everything to do about engines. When I was talking, that might be a tenth or two. That is different to this as well, so you've got to factor that in. It's also a theoretical time. So this is purely on the upgrades, the percentage of what the gain is on those areas at a fast circuit track. So it can vary as well between the circuits. So it's just a guide, because you know, if you're watching, you want to get an idea of why that car is slower, you know, much further down than the other when you think it's got a good driver in it. This could be why. So here's your car development. So we think, showing in the graphic here, just to talk you through it, so that ACR Zack Speed thing is the fastest chassis out there. You then look back and it shows Nordson being ever so slightly behind, Evolution, then Edge. I mean, all these guys are still within 1/10. You then talk Red Archer, Hawkeye just over the 1/10 barrier, Storm, Epic, Missouric. You see that Missouric there I was talking about with Jim Priest is only 1/10, 1.5 off the top car. Not much, is it? Eval still pretty close as well. Then you go out slightly to Mad Cape, you know, and Red Bull Street Fighter, no longer the worst chassis on the grid. I haven't said that for a while. All that upgrades they've been putting on the diffuser and weight been helping massively. So it's going to be pretty close when you look at that. Finally, they are ever so slightly quicker than Flag to Flag. They use the same engine as them as well. So there should be, you know, they've even chosen the same tyres this time out. So there should be no reason why, you know, no excuses this time. Your car's not 2 off everybody else. You're right in the mix. 2 off ACR, basically, 2.5 give you that. But that's about it. And you've got fresh engines, so that does factor in as well. So not just you guys though, Flag to Flag as well at the back there. Even the slowest chassis is only 0.262 off, which is pretty impressive. And they've stopped developing the car basically. So yeah, that's pretty good. Hard to predict from there, isn't it, when you look at that, how close that all is. This is where the drivers do make a big factor, and why people like Mad Cape bringing in, you know, some top drivers, Missouri bringing in some top drivers, Epic bringing in a new driver that was unknown to us at the moment. All these people can really help push your car forwards, can make up a tenth or two. You know, it's not big differences, particularly over the course of a whole race. Oh, in qualifying you may not be right up there, but actually this time you might over race distance, if you gain a little bit more every time, you might actually be able to get them in the race. So when we're doing full race distances, really exciting to see. Now, I know you all chat about this in the chat, don't you there? Hello to David Junt, David Fired It, Dennis Jordan, Michael Ayres, Cameron Roger, nice to see you all in there. All the Flag to Flag guys going, oh my god, what have we done? We're going to be behind Street Fighter. You might be. Yeah, you might have to deal with that. In the meantime though, what I wanted to bring up, because I brought up Jim Priest in the Missouric, if he does race, for this reason. We spoke about it previously in a show, and yes, we've got the title battle, and we'll come on to that in a minute. But at the other end, we've got the relegation idea. Now, you've got a team in, we've spoken about the team in Super Cup, and you know, many teams, but particularly one that's broken records down there. And do they deserve to come up? Does the team deserve to go down? So, the actual way behind it, the rules, as we've spoken about before, is the team at the bottom of the relegation rankings, that's not the standings, the relegation rankings, is considered by admins for relegation. That does not mean they have to be relegated. It would be hard, you know, it gives more weight to the admins to be able to do it, because that's what it's there for in the rules. And what it is, it averages out over the past 3 seasons your standings, you know, divides by 3 or divides by 2 if you've been there 2 years, or just keeps it at the 1 if you've been there 1, and whoever ends up bottom. So if you don't end up bottom, in theory you're not considered for relegation unless you've done something horrendous. So at this present moment, this is the relegation standings. So you look at that and go, over the course of 3 seasons, for example, their ACR over 3 seasons so far, when you divide it up, average 443, whereas Missouri, they've only done 1 season, granted, at 52. So the ones you want to look at there is Missouri and Street Fighter, realistically. Granted, Flag to Flag are also in that mix, and as I've just said, they've got the worst card, so there is a potential there for them to also finish bottom, where they would then be considered for relegation. But to me, normally first year teams are given a bit of a bite as long as they've turned up to all the events and been competitive, which I'd argue nearly every team has this year. Realistically, we've barely missed any races for any cars at all, so it's been a really competitive season. So on that basis, I don't think anyone will drop out on that basis. So when you look at it though, the only team I can think, if they were considered, could be dropped out is Street Fighter. If I was admin, I'm not. But at the moment, if they finish 13th, in theory, they're not considered for relegation, so we're safe. So you look at that though, and they've actually got a 25-point gap. Now, of course, anything Street Fighter scores, because they've been here 2 years, anything Street Fighter scores from now on the last 2 rounds, they effectively it counts as half to this, because it's divided by 2. So, whereas Missouri, whatever they score now, counts as 1, because they've only done 1 year. So, but they still need to outscore. Even if Street Fighter scored 0 points from now on, which is absolutely possible, then Missouri would need to score 25, which, based on the fact they've only scored 52 all year, would need something special. Is Jim Parisi something special? Yeah, as a driver. Could he get that car into the top 5 or 6? He could on his day. Does he? You know, I don't know if he's testing right. I don't know how he's been with it. I've no idea on these things. But if you give him the car, I mean, I've worked with him myself as part of a team when we started out at former Simracing in our very first race as a team, and he won the Australian Grand Prix over there against some seriously top competition. So over 1 race, the guy is incredible. So he's only got potentially 2 races here to outscore Street Fighter by 25 points. It's a big ask, I'll admit. Just something to play around with though, something to think about that might not just be the top 2 teams that we're going to talk about most of the time. Just something to have a look at. How Missouri doing? How is Street Fighter doing? Just keep watching. You never know. I just think it's going to be something that the admins will definitely be watching, I would imagine. So we probably should be too. Hope that explains a few things for you. On that, we'll go through how I think teams are against each other now. So rather than set for success, you know, and that sort of thing, we'll look at this stage of the season, it's very much team versus team and how they're going to do. So I'm not even going to include Street Fighter in this, because they're not really in competition with anyone other than themselves. Just like if they just DNF for the next 2 rounds, then they really might struggle. But if they score some points, they'll be absolutely fine. So they're only really racing against themselves. Ones that you want to look at though is this now. Ooh, I've got to move over here. So you want Storm, Missouri, and now Madcape are very, very close to each other in the standings for this season. Who'd have thought that with Madcape previously? But you look at the scores there. Storm over the past 6 rounds have scored 7 points, and that's in 1 race. Missouri scoring in half the races, a few points here or there. Madcape scoring massively, really, in 4 rounds. So if they did another, you know, they've got 2 rounds to go, could easily outscore both these teams and actually end up somewhere in mid-pack. Who'd have thought that? That's definitely doable. And again, Missouri could jump up as well as we go through with some others. So that's my battle around that sort of area, I think, for this round anyway. You go a bit further up. Granted, it is a leap then when you get up to sort of flag to flag Adonis sort of level. 81 and 722 respectively. Neither of which are scoring massive points at any point. Flag to flag will struggle with the car they've got potentially. You know, again, they do seem to both be teams that are one-man teams at the moment. If Adonis, when I say Adonis, if Yuri Kazdorp turns up in, you know, the form he can be in, then they can do very well. Again, Mark Hutchinson can do very well as well in the flag to flag. So if either of them turn up, they can really make a difference in this. Arguably with the cars at the moment and the way things are going, I'd probably push this more towards the Adonis side of things. I think that's probably heading that way, but still, you know, just 2 races, so I still think, but I think Adonis could get that. In the other one, I think Madcape will actually get that one out of the 3. The middle pack, obviously disagree with me if you like in the middle, in the comments and the chats, we're sort of middle pack here. We've got Red Archer against Eval. Red Archer were scoring rather consistently for a little while, and then have had 2 horrendous rounds, and have been caught by Eval, who had poor rounds and then some reasonable rounds as well now. So with Eval, as we've said before, no disrespect to Argo, it does mean that I think that it's very much on how right Kilt does in that car. He can really get that car up to the top and do rather well. So I'd imagine, and the way Red Archer are working with their team at the moment, the drivers they've got in, I don't think are capable enough to keep that going. So I think they'll probably lose out to Eval. They'll be completely safe from the guys below, but Eval there. If you think it's just started, Michael Ayres, you must have missed a little bit at the start. Just on that one. Hawkeye versus Nordson. It's not as close as I'd like, but it's sort of next to the pack, as it were. Realistically, Hawkeye have got this at the moment. Yes, Nordson have been scoring a few points recently. It's quite even, but they've got quite a big gap to catch up. It will require Fider to score some decent points, and Hawkeye have got 2 very fast drivers, but on their day they can be incredible. On other days they're both DNF. So it's a all or nothing approach with Hawkeye, it would appear. At Nordson, you've got a safe pair of hands in one. Well, you've got two veterans in that car. One that just seems like he's just trying to see out the season, if I'm honest, at this stage. He's driven an awful lot better in the past. It's just a shame that it's got to this stage now. So I'd stay Hawkeye again and take that one, I'm afraid, by the end of the season. We've then got Epic versus Evolution. I still can't see Epic beating Evolution at this stage now. You look at the points of the past 6 rounds. Yes, Epic started the season really well, and actually they scored very evenly last time out, but previous to that, Evolution have been outscoring them heavily, and majority of that with Epic scoring the same as them was actually Bok had that disconnection. So I still think Evolution will beat Epic out, reasonably well, unless of course the new driver at Epic does really come good, which from what I've seen he's not like incredible, but yeah, alright, some of the green colouring wrong. I haven't said what the green means, David, so it could be right. I don't know, do you? Don't be so quick to judge, eh? ACR and Edge. Title challenges. This is it, isn't it? It's rather close. We've got... It's closer than I'd like, put it that way, at this stage of the season. Jarl's engine blow-up did kind of give us a bit of a let-off at ACR. As I said in Lee's show afterwards, Petter Burlak's pace was incredible, so to actually come away outscoring them was kind of lucky in a way. Not just my guys did work very hard, but yeah, and I think this time you'd have to give it to ACR to outscore Edge as well. With Jarl's back of the grid, and proper back of the grid as well, then that's going to be really difficult from there. Even if Petter runs off with it, whereas Risto moved back up to 7th from his back of the grid last time out. I mean, we have seen it before. Dennis Jordan moved up to get a podium last time out, off of or 4th, off from the back. So I think ACL will probably do this one as well, which could, in theory, bring the title out this time. In fact, could bring both titles out this time. I think the permutations for the driver's title, effectively, Seabull needs to get 4th, and it doesn't really matter what Petter does. Obviously, if Petter comes second and comes first, but yeah, that changes slightly. Dennis Lynn, Edge have the upper hand. Edge arguably does have the upper hand from a team and setup at the moment, but I do think that back of the grid is going to potentially cost them. Doesn't mean necessarily the title will be settled here for teams, but I think it is for not set for drivers, but luckily we are, as ACR, we are both in the position of being ahead, so it is in our favour at least. Edge too far back with only 2 races left. That's quite possible. We might well limp it across the line, but that's fine. Been won earlier in the year potentially, and that's the lot there, isn't it? So we've got titles on the line basically. That's what we're talking about here. I'm loving a few more opinions on the title battle before we get there on Thursday. Anybody? Hutchison saying ACR, Dennis Jordan saying Edge. What else we got? Jump now kicking off. So nice to have you all on board. Yeah, I can't wait for Thursday now. Yes, my team's involved in the title hunt. Of course, that's why I can't wait. But at the same time, it's actually battles still up and down the field. I'm quite interested to see how some of these teams right down the back do, how Madcake do, how Missouri do, how Street Fighter do. How are these teams looking? What does Fidet do in over there? What do the Hawkeye guys do? What's the new guy Epic do? It's just so much going on. We don't really, at this stage of the season now, the cars get so close to each other again. Right from the start of the season, they then open out gaps when everyone's developing, and then they pull back in again because everyone developed the right areas. So, and then the engines are very close once again. So we're really, really close now. By the time we get to the next round, we could be as close as you could probably get to the start of the season from a performance closeness to get across the grid anyway. Maybe with flag to flag starting to fail at the back a little bit from a chassis point of view. Of course, I'd love to be proven wrong, guys. I know you're all in there watching us, so that's great. Make sure you tune in on Thursday. The racing kicks off at 8 o'clock. Qualifying before that, 20 minutes before. We've got Super Cup before that tomorrow, though, right here on this channel. Live racing action there. The driver's title there as well, very close. The team title's sewn up, but the two Scrutineer Brasilia cars battling away is a handful of points in that between the two. So teammates battling away. It's going to be exciting come the end of the season. Which is again, and there's two races tomorrow night. You get the one feature one and the one sprint one, and then we've got the big Super League on Thursday. Make sure both, both are watched by yourselves. If you can't watch it, make sure you subscribe to this because you can easily watch it back. Got another one in there. That's good, isn't it? We are back for the Scrutineer in 2 weeks' time as well, previewing the final round where. Abu Dhabi, which is always exciting anyway. There's still going to be permutations up and down the field. Upgrades coming as well, no doubt, for teams and stuff. It's often a place where people try out new drivers and try little things and maybe switch up strategies as well. Looking ahead to next year, maybe that sort of thing. So that's quite exciting as well. And we can start maybe previewing next year. Normally by this point we've had a few announcements of next year's drivers already and things like that, but all seems to have gone out the window. Maybe everyone's waiting for GPVWC Day, which is at Silverstone Force India factory and around Milton Keynes over the weekend of the 1st and 2nd of December. So if you're part of the community, get involved in the Discord, get involved in the forum, get yourself down there 1st and 2nd December. It's always great to meet esports sim racing people. I'll be there. I'll be there with Sim News guys doing an awful lot as well. So hopefully get to meet a lot of you, get a few of you on camera as well, all these people that are in the chat. Hi, 16, 17 people at the moment. Get yourself down to Milton Keynes and we'll have a good old natter. Just don't judge me too much for some of the stuff I've said. But I stand by it all. So we shall see you all on Thursday. Make sure you're watching the race. I can't wait to see if it's going to be ACR or Edge, Siebel or Burlack. Incredible stuff. Make sure you're all watching. Thank you for joining me. This is the GPVWC's Super League, sponsored by WTF1. Incredible stuff. Make sure you're joining in. Most realistic sim racing experience in the world, right here at GPVWC.com. I've been the Scrutineer for simnews.tv, and we shall see you next time.